thought I'd do a video on the 996 Porsche Carrera. I bought this one here last year, about a year ago. It's a Mark I 3.4 liter 2001 Carrera. When I was looking and doing my research about Porsches, I knew that I wanted to buy a Porsche. I've always wanted one. And I was looking at YouTube to see whether there was any videos where someone had kind of done a review of what it's like to own one now and what to look for if you're thinking of buying one, and I couldn't find one. So I thought, well, I've had the car for a year, maybe I'll post a video which, you know, if you're looking for a 996 or just investigating the possibility of buying a 996, you can use to get some of the information that you need. So in terms of the 996 line itself, it was, you may know, was the first water-cooled version of the 911. There's a bit of an uproar when they introduced the 996 because a lot of people thought and still think that the 996, or sorry, the Porsche 911 spirit sort of lives in the air-cooled vintage of cars, and they're beautiful cars, there's no doubt. But the Porsche had sort of reached the end of the technological limit with the air-cooled engine, and they needed to move to a water-cooled platform in order to increase power and deal with emission standards and so on. So that's where the 996 came from. In terms of the reliability issues or engine issues or whatever with this car, the main one related to something called the IMS bearing, and the intermediate shaft bearing, and it's a shaft which runs the two timing chains which go up to each head, and it's secured and turns on a bearing which sits right below the crankshaft, below the rear main seal. So that bearing, if it wore out prematurely, could, if it failed, could cause the timing chains to go out of position and send the valve train into the pistons and ruin the engine, or debris from the bearing itself could get into the engine and grenade it. So it was a rather serious failure, most often requiring an engine replacement. Allen Engineering is a company in the US that makes a replacement ceramic bearing, and a lot of these cars have had that upgraded bearing installed, and if they have, then as I understand it, they're sort of good to go. So if you're looking for a 996, you ideally want to find one which has that upgraded bearing in it. You can get them with the OEM bearing, and a lot of times, as I understand it, they go for a long time. There doesn't seem to be a problem. It's just a risk that that if it does fail, you've got serious problems. So for peace of mind, probably you want to get a car that's had the upgrade, or do the upgrade yourself. Either have a shop do it or do it yourself. It's a bit, to do the IMS bearing, the company Allen Engineering actually sells the kit, which has the tools you need to remove and reinstall the bearing. And so if you have the facility to get the transmission out and raise the car up, it's not, you know, it's a doable transmission if you're good with the tools. So it's doable. Other issues, the rear main seal in the earlier 996s would leak, and so that's not as big an issue, obviously, but kind of a nuisance. So you want to check that. And I think the earlier 996s had a low incidence, but they had some failure where the heads cracked, or sort of the block cracked, and the coolant and oil would mix. So you want to just check, if you're buying an earlier 996, check the oil filler cap, and if there's a bunch of white foamy gunge collecting in there, then that could be the problem. So I had mine inspected by a reliable independent shop in Vancouver, and you know, probably it's a good idea with these cars just to make sure that everything is good to go. Other than those issues I've raised, the cars are very reliable and tough, and there's lots of examples of extremely high mileage cars which have never had the engines apart, which go and they go and they go. So in terms of performance, one of the questions I had when I was looking at buying a 996 was, how fast is it, how's it handle, and these sorts of things. I have driven the new Carrera S around a track, and it's an This car isn't as fast as the Carrera, so obviously it's down 100 horsepower on it. But the basic driving dynamics are very similar. It's a very precise, well-sorted chassis. Lots of steering feel, feel through the steering wheel. Outstanding manual transmission, 6-speed manual transmission, and lots of very responsive accelerator and responsive engine. The car goes to 60 in around 5 seconds, just over 5 seconds, so it's plenty quick. With a top speed of 175 miles an hour, which is faster than I'll ever take it, I'm sure. And it's extremely fun. So in terms of performance, I think you'd be hard pressed to find a car for the price that performs as well as this one does. They've been criticized. Their aesthetics have been criticized because the headlights on them are not the round oval. They're sort of round. They have a little kind of cutout bit in the front, and you know what they look like if you looked at a 996 before. Most people, don't notice those sort of subtleties. I do think the 997 headlights and Ford look better. They've gone back to the round oval headlight, but all in all, I think the 996 is an excellent looking, very nice looking car. 98% of people can't tell the difference between it and later models of Porsches. They look so similar, so yeah, I think it's a great looking car. The interior is a bit dated in terms of the aesthetics. The 997 is much more contemporary, and in terms of just the look of the layout and some technology. But when you're driving it, you're not going to be paying attention to that. What you're paying attention to is the ergonomics, the driver position, the steering wheel, how the shifter works, and that's all outstanding. The seat is, unless you're really big, the seat is well bolstered, extremely comfortable. It keeps you secure while you're going around corners quickly, and so the car is great to go. That's probably about it. I mean, again, I just think that the car is a huge performance bargain, and I'm a big fan of it. There's lots of 996 detractors, but I guess that's good in the sense that it keeps the prices relatively affordable. Usually the prices for a 997 is you're up $15,000 or $20,000 more for getting sort of a low mile comparable 997. So if it's not in your price range and you're considering a 996, taking into account the things I've said, I highly recommend getting them. So if you have information or you have comments or questions, please post them below, and I'll try and answer questions insofar as I've got the information. And if not, happy driving, and if you're looking for one of these cars, happy hunting. Cheers. So here's the Mark 1 996 Carrera in seal gray. This is 2001 model. This is the last of the Mark 1s. The Mark 2, which had 320 horsepower, and the displacement went up from 3.4 to 3.6, started in 2002. In terms of the engine itself, they changed the timing chain configuration in the Mark II. They went from having individual chains tying together the two cams in each cylinder bank to having the one timing chain running from the intermediate shaft. So you went from having 5 chains in the Mark I to 3 chains in the Mark II. And then of course there was the horsepower bump. So this is this car. I'll just sort of do a little walk around. It has the I think the wheels are sort of those GT3 wheels. Probably weren't stock with the car. As you can see, there's the renowned 996 headlight, which has received a lot of criticism, but overall, it's a good-looking car, and the people don't really notice the headlight, other than the Porsche people. So, just to have a look in the trunk. See, I've got a bunch of clutter in there, but the trunk is big enough to put, I don't know, probably 6 bags of groceries in it or something, or a couple of duffel bags. You won't get golf clubs in there, of course, but it's a useful space, and if you're going golfing, you just usually put your clubs behind the seats.
Just wanted to start the car up so you can hear the Porsche Sports exhaust. You can see this car's got some of the aluminum accent trim, the sort of center, whatever you call the tunnel, I suppose, and the handbrake lever. It's got the short shift gear shifter in it, and it's got cup holders, which I actually don't think I've ever used, but they weren't stock with this car. The Mark 1 doesn't have a glove compartment, so if you're married to glove compartments, you want to be looking at a Mark 2 996. So anyway, here's the, I'll start the car up so you can hear it. So you can hear the exhaust note, a little burble there as the revs come down, and it sounds fast. So it sounds excellent, I think. And without the Porsche Sports exhaust, it's just a little bit more muted than that. That's about it, I think, for the 996. And if you've got any specific questions about it, then by all means post some comments below, and I'll do what I can for you. Okay, over and out.